Hello everybody, this is MonteCristo, and we're going to be doing another Overwatch point analysis today. Thank you for all the feedback that you guys gave me on Twitter and YouTube yesterday. So we're trying to implement some of those suggestions that you all offered up to make this a little bit better. Again, it's very difficult, especially in this without replays or a minimap, to really digest or analyze all of the action that's breaking down here, because we're just going to miss some players' perspectives, which is unfortunate. But hopefully with new tools in the future, I can do better versions of these kind of reviews. If you guys missed it yesterday, I'll link right here. I did do an analysis of Envy's Point A Gibraltar defense. You can also subscribe, so please do that. But today we're going to be looking at a match between Meta Athena and MVP Infinity. Now, this is going to take a look at Meta Athena's Point A attack on King's Row, in which they use a double sniper strategy with Hanzo and Widowmaker. So let's get into it. Let's talk about why it's effective and probably why we're going to see a little bit more of this in the future. So to start out with, of course, we're going to be on King's Row on attack. We're actually going to watch through the entire clip once before, because people were asking for that, just so you can kind of see how this attack unfolds, and then we'll break it down a little bit more specifically. So as you can see, they're going to be using these two snipers to really force MVP Infinity back beyond the point and sort of cower behind their Reinhardt shield, which would be an ideal in this situation. But MVP Infinity sort of halfway tries to dive, halfway tries to attack the front line, and ends up just getting picked off by the Ana, the Hanzo, and the Genji pretty methodically here, and it leads to a very quick capture of Point A on King's Row. Even though Hoon was the first to fall, obviously he's going to have that faster back time because his respawn is closer, and this falls apart really quite quickly for MVP Infinity despite getting the initial kill onto the point. So, quick cap here. Doesn't look like much when we first go through it quickly, but as we go through it more slowly, we're going to see why this is a particularly effective strategy. So, before we go into this too deeply, and I'm just going to go ahead and rewind this all the way back to the beginning here, Hanzo. And let's take a look at the map of King's Row itself for just a moment. So I have it up here just in a spec mode right now, and we'll talk about why this is so effective and why double snipers are really powerful on this point. Now, you shouldn't probably do this unless you're running with a very well-organized group of your friends or are a professional team, and you definitely shouldn't do this on King's Row sort of beyond the first point. You could run a Hanzo throughout the entire map, maybe one sniper, but when we talk about the double sniper strategy, there are certain aspects of King's Row that make it particularly attractive. Oops. So I'm going to restart my match here, and we're going to take a look at it again. Or I'm not. I'm just going to enter game and not be able to do anything. All right, here we go. So when we take a look at this map as we fly out the doors here on King's Row, we're going to see that the sight lines are very long and pretty much unimpeded. So starting off, when your team is going to be advancing through the choke, easy with Widowmaker or Hanzo to go ahead with hookshot or just jump up here onto the higher level, and easy to hookshot or scramble up the walls with Hanzo to the other part of the map as your team advances into the point. Now, typically what we're going to see is we're going to see the enemy team with their Reinhardt back and try and shield here, because this is the most protected space that you can get into, as well as having the hotel to dodge into and fire out of on the side here if your Reinhardt shield is getting low or threatening to break. But you can continue just to sort of box your opponents in by moving very deliberately as your tank line moves up through here and then into the upper halls if necessary, potentially if they go through the hotel and they try and make a counter engage via the statue. So now that we've taken a look at that, we'll watch how exactly MVP Infinity is going to take this point. So to start off with, we have to look at the team compositions and make some judgments about what their strengths are. Obviously, there isn't much on the point right now for Meta Athena when they approach. They're going to have these two tanks here alongside maybe the Lucio, and they're going to have Nuss here at the back trying to fire in, mostly with Saya Player and Libero on this sort of 3 sniper combination. And they're going to be well in the back trying to get those long sight lines in order to make picks. Now, MVP Infinity is going to have a bit of a hard time with this composition. Because they're not a true dive comp. If they were running, say, a Genji and a Tracer and a Winston, they could just dive the backline 3v3 and probably win against these three heroes. But because they only have the Genji, that really limits their options. And I think EasyBro makes some mistakes and tries to overdive 1v3, and that's one of the primary reasons why they're going to lose this point. Now, they are going to have objectively much more damage to a Reinhardt shield with sustained DPS from the Soldier and the Genji compared to the Widowmaker and the Hanzo. So really what MVP Infinity should be doing on this point, in a way they could have won this match, is to play the Reinhardt shield game, stand behind the shield, and force Saya player and Libero to not have any sightlines to get these picks, and then focus down the enemy Reinhardt shield and crush the front line, right? And then it doesn't really matter because you're standing on the point. Widowmaker and Hanzo are not going to be able to advance to capture the point, and you will be sitting pretty behind cover or a Reinhardt shield or something like that. Unfortunately, that's not what's actually going to happen here for MVP Infinity. Instead, they get very aggressive in the front line, and they try and dive the back line with just the Genji, and that's going to be pretty ineffective, as we shall see. So let's get this rolling right now. And part of this is it's a surprise strategy, right? Certainly MVP Infinity doesn't look like they know exactly how to play against it, and they're pretty confused. As soon as they see the Hanzo arrows coming in, they do fall off the high ground, so they're very wary about the possibility of a quick headshot, a quick pick coming in, and they start to collapse here behind the Reinhardt shield. Now you'll see that the tank line right now is advancing towards the point, and then you'll see both the Widowmaker and the Hanzo fall to the low ground try and get the sightline. They know there's a Genji in there, so they're covering the door right now, not giving EasyBro a chance to get into that backline. Even if he did, he's not going to survive, which is exactly what we're going to see. Now, the first part of this fight starts really interestingly, because you'll notice right now, strangely, that we have Why Not on the Zarya right here out in front of his Reinhardt shield. And we have EasyBro on the Genji, who has dashed over to this location on the side. Now, what they're trying to do is they're trying to kill Alpha right here, or Hoon, and destroy the tank line very early on. Now, this is a very aggressive move. Unfortunately, because we're actually looking through a Widowmaker scope right now, we can see that this is leaving Why Not very exposed. And even if they are going to get a kill, when you're playing defense, trading 1-for-1 kills is always at a disadvantage because of the run back time to the point. So they're not actually going to be very well rewarded for this in any real capacity. So let's get back into this. We're going to slow this down so we can see exactly what happens. So you'll notice at the start of this that we're going to see Hoon go down pretty quickly here, and Alpha's going to fall very low as well. But because the Ana player continuously heals Alpha, there's just not enough damage, and it's going to give Ana a huge amount of ult charge here to continue on with this pressure. So Undyne, who's back here, actually picks up the kill onto Hoon, but it was a lot of the damage coming in from the flank. The problem right now is that even though they lost a player, this is actually a pretty ideal situation for Meta Athena to be in, because now they have a Zarya here that they can trade 1-for-1 with. Zarya can either run back in here and not have any damage, or can try and get back behind the Reinhardt shield and hide here in the corner away from the line of sight and behind the Reinhardt shield from the snipers. But in doing so, if he chooses to run this way, then Why Not is actually just going to die, and it's not going to turn out very well for the rest of his team and the rest of the fight, because they needed to win this tank line battle pretty decisively. So, pretty easy kill going to be picked up here in just a second as we come into the second part of this engage. So, Hoon, stuck out on his own, is going to fall right here to a snipe, right? Genji dash coming in, going to do some damage to Libero, but with the Ana and the Lucio right here, it's not going to be terribly effective. Why Not, or EasyBro rather, makes the mistake on the Genji of trying to go in on what is effectively a 1v3 or a 1v4 situation. If he's getting poked down, he's always going to be in danger of actually dying to a snipe, which is what we're going to see happen as Saya player takes him out from behind. And at this point, the soldier's very exposed. the Reinhardt's just going to die to a scatter arrow, and because of all the damage on that front line that Ana was able to heal up, we do see the nano boost going down onto Alpha very early in this fight, which pretty much tips it over the top, right? Able just to hammer his way through the enemy Reinhardt, and it's sort of a desperate scramble for the rest of the battle. So, again, there's a different way to actually approach this if we are MVP Infinity, which is, at this point in time, instead of actually playing aggressively on the point, what you can do is you can fall back instead. Again, right here, have your entire team back here behind the Reinhardt and use the superior sustained DPS of the soldier to break the enemy shield, thereby engage on the Reinhardt immediately thereafter, and use your Zarya bubbles to quickly protect yourself while you're killing that Reinhardt or the enemy Zarya herself, and then just sit on the point, because the problem with Meta Athena's composition is that if they don't get picks, they can't actually commit very many people to the point because of the danger that entails if you're trying to get on that point and fight close range with a Hanzo or a Widowmaker. So really big problems here, and I think MVP Infinity had the tools in order to deal with this, but we saw too much diving, we saw too much forward aggression in front of their Reinhardt's shield, which looked good initially, but the thing is that once you expose yourself like that, you're going to repeatedly fall to heroes like Widowmaker and Hanzo that just have higher burst damage, higher pick potential, and eventually you'll find yourself at a man disadvantage and your line will collapse. So pretty interesting stuff, actually. I think we will see more of this, especially because teams have to react very quickly upon seeing two snipers basically scattering into cover. And so unless you're a very well-disciplined team and you know exactly how to deal with this with your specific composition, if it had been a dive composition that MVP Infinity was running on defense, then the correct opportunity may have just been to jump on top of the Widowmaker instantaneously and ignore the front line. But in this case, I really think you have to focus down that front line instead. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. This one was a lot shorter than my other one yesterday because it's a shorter attempt at the point. But I hope that shows you how you can play with sightlines on King's Row Point A and how teams can really take advantage of well-coordinated double sniper composition.